wild times when people celebrate people getting killed now. Like, that never happened before. Like, even when someone bad got killed before, you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of crazy.
I've been thinking a lot about this.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I don't think we all exist in the same reality anymore. Not on some multiverse,
right.
But, like, just, like, how
we see the world.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's, like, especially with Charlie's death, because I was in Australia when it happened, so, like, I had time. Like, I wasn't doing pods, I wasn't doing stand-up, I'm just, like, sitting around in a trailer under this movie, so I, like, started watching, like, a bunch of his stuff.
For they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Even know anything about the President Trump shooting? What do we know about it? So we have to kind of start getting answers. We're not getting answers. I want answers about COVID. If China released that virus intentionally and unintentionally, do we know that yet? We don't. That opens it up for the next pandemic or the next Black Swan event. 2, who shot the president in the ear? What happened there? What do we know about this guy? What was the motive? We know nothing there. 3, this right here went with Charlie Kirk, the MLK of the conservative youth movement today. He is the equivalent of MLK. So we have to find out what happens to this guy. We have to find out what the motive behind it was.
So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I shot him, now shoot me, I shot him, now shoot me, and then that guy gets arrested for child porn charges, like what is going on here? And then you find this rifle, and then you say, oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it, like, okay. I wish I was a cop. I'd sit in a room like, this story is horse shit. Like,
Charlie wasn't murdered just because he spoke. He was murdered because our children listened. They heard go to church, get married, have children. And the devil was losing ground on our youth. That's why his voice mattered. That's why we must carry the torch.
The death of Charlie Kirk was not what they told you it was. The official story, neatly packaged and delivered to a grieving public, was one of a senseless, random tragedy. A beloved political commentator, a powerful voice for millions, struck down by a lone, troubled young man. The authorities had their suspect in custody within 33 hours, a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson. The case was presented as open and shut, a straightforward narrative designed to bring closure. But for those paying close attention, the story was full of holes, inconsistencies, and bizarre details that pointed not to a simple tragedy, but to a sophisticated, premeditated, and deeply disturbing conspiracy.
The official story, which was quickly established and promoted by the authorities, seemed simple enough. A troubled 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson was identified as the sole perpetrator. The case was presented as an open and shut tragedy, and the public was encouraged to accept this narrative without question. But from the very beginning, the story was full of holes that were too big to ignore.
This is where Joe Rogan, one of the most influential media figures in the world, entered the conversation. During his podcast, he stated plainly that the official story just didn't make any sense. He began to pick apart the strange details that had been largely ignored by the mainstream media, starting with the alleged weapon. Rogan, an experienced hunter and firearm expert, said the rifle in the photo looked far too modern and sophisticated for the story being told.
This kid had a rifle with a scope. Now here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle with like a sophisticated modern scope on it, sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old gun? Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is it possible that an old gun can be that accurate? If you have a gunsmith and they work on it, yeah, it's totally possible. You have a really good gunsmith and he sets, if you're like a nostalgic person, you like driving an old car, you can bring it to a mechanic, they could redo the brakes.
Sure.
So if you got a good gunsmith and he took a look at that and the action was true and, you know, the bore is good, you know, yeah, you could conceivably shoot with a gun for hundreds of years, right? Guns don't necessarily go bad.
Right, they don't expire.
Right, and especially because all the stuff like the trigger and the action and all that different stuff is replaceable. So you can just like it's compartmentalized. It's components. That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit.
Not gonna fit in the backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What?
The official narrative claimed that the weapon was the suspect's grandfather's old rifle from World War I and that it didn't even have a serial number. But Rogan pointed out that the rifle in the photo appeared to have a modern composite stock and a sophisticated scope. He questioned how an inexperienced 22-year-old kid could not only handle such a weapon, but also make a highly accurate shot from 200 yards away, a feat that would be difficult even for a trained marksman.
Then, Rogan brought up another bizarre and deeply suspicious detail from the day of the event. Right after the shot was fired, an older man in the crowd, a decoy, began yelling, "I did it! I did it!" before taking off his pants.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? Took his pants down? This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombing.
All the hits,
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. So somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right, right.
Right, and because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like, what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved?
This man, it was later discovered, has a strange history of showing up at major national tragedies, including 9/11 and the Boston Marathon bombing. As professional crisis actor at this event, creating a chaotic distraction at the most critical moment. To make matters even stranger, this same man was arrested on unrelated child abuse charges almost immediately after the event. Rogan pointed out how incredibly convenient this was. The one man who could have been a key witness, the decoy who was clearly part of a larger plan, was now silenced and locked away, where no one could question him. For Rogan, these details didn't just seem odd. They looked like a series of carefully planned events designed to allow the real perpetrators to cover their tracks.
The inconsistencies continued to pile up. The authorities claimed that the suspect had disassembled the long rifle to fit it into a small backpack and then reassembled it on the roof before taking the shot. Rogan, laughing in disbelief, explained that this was practically impossible. A rifle of that size simply wouldn't fit, and the time and skill required to reassemble it under pressure would be immense.
That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit.
Not gonna fit in the backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof. What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
The entire story felt like a poorly written movie script, completely unbelievable.
A short clip of Rogan's skeptical comments instantly spread like wildfire across social media. Elon Musk, who was tagged in the clip, responded with one of his trademark cryptic posts, "The truth doesn't hide forever." That single sentence blew up the internet. Suddenly, two of the biggest public figures in the world were publicly questioning the official narrative. Was this a coincidence, or were they sending a coordinated message?
This is when the online investigation turned its focus to another powerful voice who had been questioning the story from the very beginning, commentator Candace Owens. Musk began liking several of her posts in which she had accused the media of actively covering up crucial details about Charlie Kirk's death. Suddenly, hashtags about Charlie's widow, Erika Kirk, started trending as the internet became convinced that Rogan, Musk, and Owens all knew something the rest of the world didn't.
The picture became clearer and much darker once Rogan's full podcast episode was released. He wasn't just questioning small details, he was openly stating that the entire story felt super fabricated. He described how in cases like the Charles Manson murders, the government often hides the truth by releasing so much confusing and contradictory information that the public eventually gives up and just accepts whatever the authorities say.
None of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet. If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is gonna solve anything, you add a bunch of, if you're gonna kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that.
You have an old man put his out and yell, I did it, I did it.
He warned that the same tactic was being used here.
This is when Candace Owens went live again, and what she revealed took the conspiracy to a whole new level. She claimed that in the weeks leading up to his death, Charlie had begun to talk about topics that made the US government and its powerful allies very uncomfortable. She played a clip of Charlie himself talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case, not as a story about one deviant man, but as a sophisticated intelligence operation run by agencies like the Mossad to blackmail powerful people. Candace argued that Charlie was getting too close to the truth about how intelligence agencies use blackmail to control politicians, and that this posed a direct threat to them. But the threats were also coming from his own side. She revealed that Charlie was under an increasing amount of pressure from his own donors to control his message, especially when it came to his views on Israel. Candace then released screenshots of a private group chat from just 48 hours before Charlie was killed.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange. And I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends, but I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently, but here we are.
In the texts, Charlie wrote, "Just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker." He continued, "I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was the smoking gun. It proved that Charlie was on the verge of making a major political shift that would have cost his organization millions and angered some of the most powerful people in the world.
Candace then described a tense meeting that had taken place in the Hamptons just a couple of weeks earlier. She called it a staged intervention led by billionaire Bill Ackman and other powerful figures. She claimed that threats were made and that Charlie was pressured to accept an invitation to Israel for what she called a re-education camp. She revealed that Charlie had refused both the trip and the massive amounts of funding he was offered to stay in line. He chose his principles over their money.
All of this brings the story back to the mysterious connections that seem to surround Charlie's wife, Erika Kirk. Her own backstory is full of strange coincidences. She won the Miss Arizona USA pageant in 2012, a competition that was run by Donald Trump at the time. Charlie's own father was the architect for Trump Towers. Erika, who was known as a tomboy who loved basketball and hated dressing up, suddenly transformed into a pageant queen. How does that happen?
These connections have led many to believe that the relationship between Charlie and Erika was not a simple romance, but an arranged pairing, a strategic move within a powerful political circle. Her behavior after Charlie's death has only fueled these suspicions. The public memorial she organized was described by many as a circus, complete with a pyrotechnics show. One person on Reddit wrote, "No normal person erects a circus a week after their husband gets murdered."
That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. For they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
While Candace Owens has been relentlessly fighting for the truth, demanding answers and exposing lies, Erika Kirk has been noticeably quiet. Her public statements have been calm and controlled, almost as if they were pre-prepared. Her quick forgiveness of the alleged killer felt strange and out of place to many. It all started to look less like grieving and more like a carefully managed performance. Then came the release of the alleged text messages from the suspect, Tyler Robinson. In the text, he seems to confess to the crime in a level of detail that many, including former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, found completely unbelievable. Bannon said the text read like a Shakespearean sonnet, not like something a 22-year-old would write. Candace Owens pointed out that the messages were clearly edited and cherry-picked to sell a specific narrative.
Another shocking revelation from the investigation was that the memory cards from the cameras set up by Charlie's own crew were removed from the scene. What did Charlie say in his final speech that was so dangerous that it had to be erased? Candace believes it was his growing criticism of the pro-Israel lobby and the powerful donors who were trying to control him. When you put all of these puzzle pieces together, a deeply disturbing picture begins to emerge. We have a young man, Tyler Robinson, who appears to be a convenient scapegoat.
We have a professional crisis actor creating a distraction at the scene. We have a weapon that doesn't match the official story and a series of actions that seem physically impossible. We have doctored text messages and missing memory cards.
We also have a clear and powerful motive. Charlie Kirk was about to defy his powerful donors and shift his political stance, a move that would have had massive financial and political consequences. And at the center of it all is his widow, Erika Kirk, a woman with a strange backstory and a series of convenient connections who quickly took control of his billion-dollar organization and his political legacy after his death.
The general public seems to be connecting these dots, with many now of the opinion that his wife was involved to some degree. One person wrote online, the video she had taken of herself touching Charlie's hands, saying over and over that she loved him, was sketchy. The entire thing felt fake. Another speculated that she may be a pawn in a wider game being orchestrated by the powerful forces at Turning Point America.
The death of Charlie Kirk is no longer just a tragic story. It is a sprawling conspiracy that involves decoys, intelligence agencies, powerful billionaires, and a potential betrayal from within. The official narrative has completely collapsed, and the public is now demanding real answers. What really happened on that rooftop? Who was the man who took off his pants? And what secrets are being hidden by the very people who claim to be mourning the most? The truth doesn't hide forever, and for the people involved in this cover-up, time may be running out.